Hello everyone, my name is George CDS and I produce music at home. I want to share with you something I learned about one tool that helped me finish my beats for once. If you're the kind of person that has lots of beats unfinished in your hard drive, this is for you. With these tips and tricks, you'll be able to see what's happening with your mix and what needs to be adjusted in order to get a full big sound. Come and join me, we're gonna explore this tool now and figure out what can be done with it. Perfect, let's get into this. So, as I was telling you, let's imagine we have this track. Any of your tracks, think of any of your tracks where you already added drums, you already got bass, you got keyboards, guitars, pads, effects, and make it sound the way you want it to sound. Step 1, as you can see here in the background, I already have a track finished or almost finished, let's say. In terms of sequencing instruments, it is what I want, but I need to do my work with mixing because there's always something wrong with mixing. I don't know, I don't think there's anyone that can mix without using any of the tools available in any of the DAWs. Like it's really hard, it's complicated. You can trust your ears, but sometimes you don't have the equipment or the studio setup necessary for the task. In my case, for example, I'm not always at home, I'm not always at my studio, and I use different monitors all the time, and sometimes I want to do some work traveling or moving, at school, at work, in the office. I don't know, I want to work whenever I want to work, and that implies I won't be at home with my studio monitors in a treated room. What we can do is rely on visual references, and this is one of the main points that I want to emphasize in this tutorial. The importance of visual references. I know people will always tell you that you need to build skills with your ears, you need to learn, adjust your ears, and best professionals in the industry, best musicians in the world, they develop these skills and they build on them, and that's fine. But facts are facts, and if something is loud, if an instrument is loud or not loud enough, in the end it comes down to numbers, right? You know, we have in our DAWs faders with visual representations of volume that we can always use, and it will never change. If you play any of your tracks, play the file, play any of your recordings, like it will always give you the same volume. Right? It's not a variable number or something that keeps on changing all the time. No, volume is fact, right? So based on that, we can assume that your track, all your different programs, everything is already at a certain peak volume. What we want to discover is if the volume of all these programs, all these tracks, all these sounds is well balanced. I think balance is the key word for mixing. You want to achieve sensation, the feel of balance, that everything coexists in the same environment, or an environment that you artificially created for this experience that we call music. So let's start with a demonstration. This is one of the tracks I've been working on, nothing crazy, nothing exceptional. It's just a pop song that I wanted to use for streaming. Let me play a track for you a little bit. I don't have the maximizer activated. This is my master track, and I'm using MPC software. I really like producing with MPC, and I also use Ableton. You'll see Ableton in most of my tutorials because that's what I usually use for mixing. But just for this demonstration, I prefer to use MPC software. This track was the perfect example, in my opinion. So I completed the track, I completed the different sequences that you see here in this drop down menu. The main sequence number 2 here, this sequence is pretty much all instruments making sound at the same time, and this is what I want. Like I want to find the sequence, I want to find the part of the track that's not the loudest but the most easy in terms of frequencies, in terms of sound, right? And another important thing to notice is that this is my master track. Mpc software is funny because it only gives you a chance to add 4 plugins or 4 insert effects. So well, in this case I had to be very meticulous. I had to focus on just the most important things. You know, if I want to make this track sound nice out of the MPC or the software, I only have 4 chances to make it right. So this is the most important thing of the tutorial, pretty much, and this is what I want you to understand. You need to have a spectrum analyzer at the end, or it has to be the very last plugin in your master chain. You have to be always able to see the frequencies of your instruments whenever you solo them, whenever you mute stuff, whenever you change things. You always need visual reference. It's time to open the plugin. Let me show you how tonal balance control looks like. So this is tonal balance control. It's my favorite spectrum analyzer. I wouldn't say it's a spectrum analyzer. It's more of a tool that was built with the purpose of helping people see what the right levels should be, depending on the genre of music they prefer, they work on. And well, we have all these different genres here to select. This blue line, this blue thick line, no, I'm not talking about the white one, I'm talking about the blue one. That's your reference. What they're trying to tell you with this visual representation of the spectrum, I'm talking about the blue thick line, right? What they're trying to tell you is that your track, your frequencies on your master track, like all together, all the sounds together at the same time, should be in between these limits, the blue thick line. And the white line that you see here bouncing a little bit, that's my track. That's what I've been producing so far. That's the addition of all the frequencies, my bass, my drums. You can hear that I have probably 2 or 3 electric pianos maybe. I have a pad, I have an electric piano, I have a guitar, I have a second electric piano. Yeah, I have different instruments here. I'll talk more about my mixing setup in terms of organization later. But for now, what you need to know is that with tonal balance control, we get on the master track, we get everything. You know, all the volumes, everything is there. So whenever this white line is going deep in or too high, too low in the different areas, we can see there's something maybe not wrong, but out of the ordinary, out of the average. And this is another important part that we need to emphasize. Not being in between the lines means that you're totally wrong, like there's something wrong with your music. It's not. This only means, the meaning of this is that not many people would leave the mix like this when producing a modern type of track. I can change. I don't really know what I think I would go for the pop curve here. You know, the pop curve. But you notice there's not much difference. Let me show you all the reference curves here. And don't look at the white line. Look at the blue thick line. That's the limitations. You know, the limits. We have to be inside the blue line here, right? So for bass heavy, for country music, I'm scrolling down and showing you all the different references they're giving us. Folk, or hip hop, or jazz. Are you noticing any similarities in between these curves? Or modern, orchestral, up. It's very obvious that low frequencies are always meant to be higher in volume and intensity when compared to high and high mid frequencies. And that's one of the principles for tonal balance control. You need to understand that the relationship between these frequencies, it's always like this. Whenever you have something in low part of the spectrum, whatever is high in the same context, in the same song, it's meant to be lower in volume. That's important to understand, that high and high mid frequencies are way lower than low mid and low frequencies for this day and age type of music. In general, there's no genre where high or high mids are higher in volume and intensity compared to low or low mid frequencies. You have a drum kit and your hi-hats are as loud as your drum, the kick. If your kick is not higher in volume than your hi-hats or anything occupying this part of the spectrum, you're gonna find some trouble with mixing. And this is what's happening to my track right now. You see, it's a bit inconsistent. So I'm gonna show you what I did to correct this little not mistakes, but just to put it back to where it was, where it should be. So let me show you what I did to correct all these mistakes, or not mistakes, but lack of balance. There's certainly lack of balance, especially between low frequencies, low mid frequencies, and high mid and high frequencies. On the left side, you'll see FabFilter Pro Q3, just above me, and this is another thing that we need to establish right now. This is not always the best way to fix your track. The best thing you could do whenever you find inconsistencies in your spectrum, tonal balance control, spectrum analyzer, whatever you're using as a reference, right? I'm recommending tonal balance control because it's very good. Seriously, it's been good to me. I think I feel confident when I use it and when I do my comparison. So the best way to fix the track is not always with an EQ on the master track, especially when it's being used so crazily. If you look at this, it's a bit crazy. It was too much. It really needed too many adjustments. What I recommend in a case like this is, first, just go back to your programs, go back to your tracks, go back to your instruments, and try to fix it there. If you had any instruments in this frequency range, lower their volume, EQ them, work on them, and that way you'll be able to find whatever's clashing, whatever is increasing the volume of different bands. You'll find it more easily this way, and you'll affect the tonality and the body of your instruments way less. So I did this just for the purpose of demonstrating like what happens when you fix your tracks in terms of frequency and volume. This is not activated yet. My FabFilter Pro Q3 is not activated yet. I'm gonna activate it for you, so you check what's the difference between one or the other, and have a good look at both the tonal balance control and the Q3. I think the Q3 won't do anything except showing some waves, and there's nothing to do with Pro Q3 at this point. The setup is already done because I've been fixing everything that needed to be fixed, especially this area. This area was really bad. It needed some a big boost. As you can see here, any EQ could do the same, Look at the references down here, look at your frequencies and try to match them with your EQ. Of course, As soon as I activate the Pro Q3, you'll be able to notice a big difference. Let's do it. First, I'm gonna activate my maximizer, just so you get a feel of the track a bit better, you know, with the limiter activated. And I'm gonna activate now the EQ with all the corrections, so the track can, all the frequencies, all the instruments, everything can be in the established ranges. Let's do it. Let's change this to pop, which was intended genre for the track. So there's a big difference in sound. I hope you're using headphones or maybe studio monitors for this video, because that way you'll be able to notice a big difference in sound. But even with a phone, it would be very noticeable. So the EQ is giving the track a different feel in terms of tone. Now, activate it. As I was telling you, the best thing you could do before getting into something like this is checking your track, checking your instruments one by one. This is important. How to check first? How to check if all the bands are in everything's okay. How to find? I think this is the important question to make here. How to find the instrument that's messing up the mix, that it's destroying everything. With tonal balance control, we have a very good feature, which is soloing the bands. Let me click on this and show you what I mean with soloing the bands. So the low mid band, this is for instruments that play in probably C1, C2, C3 octaves, mostly C1, C0, C1, C2, lower registry type of instruments. If you hear anything that's, any of the instruments is just way more prominent and louder than the others, you can tell. It pretty much confirms there's something wrong with the low mid-range instruments. And when you train your ear, you're able to hear exactly what you need to fix, what you need to lower in volume, what you need to raise in volume. I'm gonna solo the band again, but with the EQ deactivated. So you notice it's a bit different, right? Like, you can hear the keyboards. One of the keyboards is way louder than the others, and it's causing a bit of trouble in the lower section of the low mid band. So I'm activating the Pro Q again, going back to balance mode. Now you can hear a bit more of a balanced version of the same band. This is a very good way of checking your tracks, making sure everything fits in here. If you get a nice curve, there shouldn't be anything wrong with your track in terms of mixing. Of course, there's more to do after achieving balance this way. Like, you need to worry about the stereo image, the mono version of your track. There's more to do, but I would say this is the most important part during mixing. Making sure nothing's popping, nothing is too crazy. Hey, so that was it for now. I think we've done enough work for today. Maybe at this point you already know what I'm trying to tell you, but it's good that we explore more and more examples and figure out what to do in different scenarios. This is just the first part, or many more to come. We'll continue learning more about tonal balance control and what can be done with the frequencies. See you next time in the next video.